Okay. So what have we done? We've worked with Department of Natural Resources, locked up 35 cartographers in a room for 6 months and got them in there and went through the whole state, and we've now actually mapped every floodplain that there is in the state. And what's more, it's free. You can get access to it on our website. You can zoom in, and basically the map that's down here on the right, you can get down to that level of detail, and then you can go down to the next level of detail and have a look at it. We've made it all available to all local governments, and we're getting around handing it all out to them. There's obviously more detailed flood modelling around towns, but what this does is actually stitch together the one single platform. Historically, the flood mapping that was done between jurisdictional boundaries, you'd end up with this sort of step difference because of the different model they did. So theoretically, the water came and then dropped 1/2 metre because of a different model. What we've done is set a single platform of model across the whole state, and then from there, the more detailed models get built. So what we also did was use that same foundation information to be used at St George. So I'm on the State Disaster Management Committee. The local disaster management committee is happening on the ground, and basically the BOM were coming out with its predictions and saying, well, we think it could be 14 metres, and a couple of days later the flows were coming down. They said, look, it could be up to 15 metres, then settle on about 14.5 and whatever. Now, if you know flooding, it's not just a horizontal plane. Floodwaters actually move on a slope. They move with the terrain of the river. What we had to do was stitch together a map that sort of gave an indication of what the impact was likely to be in St George. So down the bottom here you can see the red circle. That tells you the height that it was predicted at. That's, you can see the AHD figure there as well. So 14.2 was the early prediction. So you look at that and you go, well, we wouldn't evacuate St George in that instance, would we? Okay, then the prediction went up a bit to 14.5. That's not looking real flash, but we probably could stay on the high ground. Then the prediction came in, it was going to be 15 metres. Time to evacuate. Okay, where did it end up? It ended up around about 14. Okay, so fortunately most of the town wasn't stuffed, but the prediction was it could get to this. And because the floodplain is so flat there, it was difficult to tell how much water was actually going to come in before it broke out. But what I guess I'm pointing out is we had a flood mapping tool here, which could then be used in application. I was presenting these maps in conjunction with the BOM stuff at the State Disaster Management Committee, and they were able to make real-time decisions. Pointless producing this 3 months after the event. You want it during the event. What's another thing we're doing? We've come up with this system called DARM, Damage Assessment Reconstruction Monitoring. Essentially this, again, similar thing. Well, once the damage happens, first thing you want to know is, well, how much, what's the severity of it, what's the nature of it? The classic thing we found in the Brisbane floods is you could look at an aerial photograph and you could see how many houses were impacted, but how many of them were Queenslanders, like I described before? How many of them actually had water inside the house? Okay, and I'll show you in a minute some stuff we did there. So what we did is this, using off-the-shelf GPS technology, but modifying the program that went into it, allowed us to go around and identify, well, where is the impact, what's the nature of the impact, and using building surveyors looking at it, and then being able to do a rapid feedback. Now we got our stuff for the Brisbane stuff, you know, we started a couple of months after, obviously, before we got started, but we were ready to go for this event, and so for this event we actually were able to get out there. I had some of my guys driving around on the back of fire trucks in Mitchell as the water was going down, taking the shots and feeding it back to me via Wi-Fi in real time, feeding it into the State Disaster Centre. We're saying, as of 1 o'clock this afternoon, there are 250 houses been identified as severely impacted. So this is Rocklea in Brisbane. Okay, so Rocklea's a suburb, it's a sort of an industrial suburb with a bit of residential. You can see there, green being no damage, minor damage, which is effectively water inside the house, but not, you know, around about the skirting boards. Moderate damage is once it starts getting to the light switches and above your kitchen cabinets, and total, severe damage is above the light switches, and total, the house has been inundated completely. Okay, so you can see Rocklea was pretty badly impacted. That was done in October. No, I think, sorry, go back. Yeah, so that was done in July. We went back, we go back every quarter to track how things are going, because again, what we're trying to work out is, well, how is the place progressing and who needs help? Where does the Department of Communities need to go to? So we went back in October, and you can see the difference there. Look how much green has popped up. But we've identified those couple of red ones and a couple of the yellow ones, and that's where we target the Department of Communities people in. So it's about trying to rapidly get this stuff happening. I went over to the States and went to New Orleans and saw some of the stuff. They were really only just starting to get to this 6 years after the event. Okay, and I came back and thought, geez, we had 12,000 houses affected, they had 200,000 houses affected. If we can't do 12,000 houses effectively and more efficiently than that, we're not trying hard enough, and that's what we've done here. So we did Brisbane, so this is where it actually stands. They did this, and sorry about the resolution there, but this is February. So you can see there, basically the suburb is up and going and fixed up, but there's a couple of ones that stand out. We can go to the council, get the ownership details around those properties. Is it a principal place of residence? They're the ones we're worried about, or is it a rental property? Those sorts of things. So we can get down to the detail and find out the actual story. Oops, that's very sensitive. Okay, so this is basically tracking the change. You can see those colours are the same ones. You can see Brisbane to the left. Okay, the scales are different, but you can see Brisbane to the left. So in July, pretty bad, but a rapid improvement from there. You can see Ipswich, pretty bad improvement, but probably not at the same scale as Brisbane. And then up in the Cyclone Yasi areas there, you can see the changes. So we know exactly where they are and can target the resources. But also when the question gets asked, well, how are things going? Up in Yasi, we also looked at tarps on roofs, because that's the visual thing that the media love to pick up. Look how many tarps are on roofs. Well, we knew the numbers down to the actual street address and could go and pinpoint what the issue was. Okay, this is Roma, 2012. So this is one we just did this time round. So you can see this information was fed straight in. You can see the black sort of X's, these ones here. As the guys went around, they actually took shots on the flood line as well, so we could marry that up with the aerial photography and join up the flood mapping. You've got to get out there though, pretty much straight after the event, or while it's just about to drop off, so you can grab accurate data. We convert this to street addresses, give it to Department of Communities. They overlay their at-risk people, work out who's the most vulnerable, you know, wheelchair-bound people, people with disabilities or whatever. They go and target those, and then they go and follow on through the others, and they go and knock on the doors. So rather than just setting up a disaster centre and waiting for people to come, actually go out and chase after these people. Okay, so this is the data that we got out of the Western floods. And you can see there, Roma and Mitchell, clearly the worst hit. St George and Charleville, look at those two there. Now, population-wise, Roma and Mitchell, St George, Charleville, Ray, it's your territory, mate, or part of it there. Not a lot of difference. What's the big difference, though, between those four towns? Two of them have levies and two of them don't. Okay? So Roma and Mitchell don't have levies. Charleville and St George do. Okay? So it starts to give you an idea of the scale of damage. Now, it's not a direct correlation to the size of the flood, but it also starts telling you how quickly is Charleville and St George going to get back on their feet compared to the other two. Okay, so this is Charleville, and the line that I've drawn on there, rather haphazardly, is the line of the levee. And you can see on that side is where the water actually came to. On this side is a computer model on where it would have gone to had the levee not been there. Big difference. And then over here, probably zooming it in, the real, what it actually means. You can see those houses on the other side compared to these ones here. Okay, on to another one, Grantham. You would have heard about Grantham. Basically, Grantham copped a fair whack with the flash flood down there. 19 people killed because it just came down the stream so quickly. Essentially what we did there was use the powers of the authority to declare a reconstruction area, go through a planning scheme exercise, complying with all the sort of rules and so forth, but doing an accelerated time, and in 3.5 months we approved what would have been taking about 3.5 years to get through. What that did is it gave that community absolute certainty that they had a choice to get out of the floodplain. They were paranoid about living in that floodplain. They were concerned about another flash flood coming through. They were concerned about the children being upset. They were concerned about property values, all those sorts of things. We worked with the council, took what was a cattle property and converted it into a subdivision. It's up on high ground and it's looking fantastic. And we've got an image there of a house being hauled in. So they had the choice of, they did a land swap, they had a choice of bringing their own house up or building a new one up there. And in many cases, they're actually realising it's cheaper to build a new one. They either got money from the Premier's Disaster Relief Fund or insurance or whatever, and they're able to get in and do it. The land effectively costs them nothing, the utilities are all there, and we also gave them a grant of $35,000 to be able to connect into those utilities. Okay, so that's the nature of it. It's going very well. Now I'm just going to do the happy snaps that I talked about. This is Cunningham's Gap, which is basically Toowoomba Range crossing. That's what it looks like now. Bananas. Now. Rail. This is Milpera State School. So it's one of the schools that got flooded in Brisbane South. Operational again. Spring Bluff Railway. So this is just west of southwest of Brisbane, which is one of the. It's basically all the coal from the southwest comes through this way out to the port of Brisbane. Rockhampton Airport, Toowoomba. This is Cardwell Foreshore, so what it looked like after. Open now. Mundubra, which is in the sort of north of, or probably south central. And this is Cardwell again. Okay, so as you can see, that's a quick run through. There's an awful lot of stuff going on. Go to our website, there's just heaps and heaps of content there. So if you're interested in any of those little aspects, dive in. But by all means, anybody wants to make contact with the authority to find out more about anything, please feel free. Don't feel like you've got to just rely on the website. I've got a good team of people who are very motivated, drawn from 13 different government agencies into a central pool, and they're operating very well. So I'd have to commend the model to anyone. Most important thing, legislative power and money. Once you've got those two, you can make a big difference. Thank you.